Hello to everybody. Welcome to season 2 of the dialogue with Guru Yogi Shivan. And we are going to be talking about the true purpose of yoga. I'm going to pin the comment. Yoga has become extremely popular in the last about 20, 30, 40, 50 years, especially in the West and all over the world. There's nowhere that you'll go. Most hotels actually have a yoga class. I've gone to the most remote places and they have a yoga class in the morning, or they have a yoga studio in town. But what was the true purpose of yoga? It's way beyond getting on your mat and exercising. And we're going to wait for Guru Yogi Shivan to come join us and answer our questions. Over the last couple of years, I found that a lot of the questions when I read ancient literature, hey Healing Lodge, good morning. It is morning for me. It's quite early in the morning for me. But the last couple of years, anytime I've had questions, the one person who's been able to answer questions that I've had, which relating the ancient text to the modern world, it has been Guruji. So, I'm delighted to have him back. We took a long hiatus. Guruji was traveling, I was doing things, but we're back now, and we're going to be doing this once in every 2 weeks. So join us. And really, I think through these conversations, I've been able to make transformation in my life. I've been able to inculcate practices and mindsets, which was almost impossible to do with anything else. So I see that Guruji is joined, and I think once he gives us the request to join, we'll be able to start this conversation. So Guruji, whenever you're ready, you can send us a request to join. I'm going to see if I can do it myself. Right. Yes, Ayurveda has given yoga to the world. Guruji.
Namaste.
Pranam, Guruji. How are you doing?
Doing very well, thank you.
Been a while, Guruji.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are absolutely audible, Guruji. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you well now.
Okay, lovely. Yeah, you're absolutely audible. Everything's clear. Video is clear. Audio is clear. Superb.
Right, thank you.
How are you doing, Guruji? I'm glad we can do this again.
Everything is perfect. I was really busy traveling to North, promoting intimacies, ideologies and everything. Of course, there is good response.
Okay, great. That's lovely to hear, Guruji. So happy to hear that. And I'm glad that we could make some time out so that we can talk about this, because the world really needs the knowledge. And the particular topic that we've chosen for this season, the true purpose of yoga, I know it's unlimited and it's a great topic. So I'm really looking forward to it, Guruji.
Yes, of course. You can ask the best questions to a yogi. It depends on you.
So yeah, Guruji, let's directly jump into it. Guruji. So yoga has become really popular in the West as a form of exercise, but that's not what yoga is. Let's start with, what is the meaning of the word yoga?
Okay. The word meaning, literal meaning is union, connection. It's popular. I think everybody is aware of that. But the point which we have to emphasize is the difference between yoga and exercise. When we play football, so it's a good exercise. And when we do basketball, it's a good exercise. Cricket, good exercise. And the yoga also exercise. Then what is the difference between these two? When you play football, though your muscles are engaged into a certain kind of strain and action, your mind is focused on the movement of ball. It's outside. When you play basketball, you're always thinking how strategically you can dodge the opponent and reach to the goalpost and shoot the ball. cricket, you're always see, and your complete focusing is on the bowler's finger, body language, everything, and mind is engaged in calculation of the ball, and like thinking which way, calculating that ball's movement. So mind is always engaged into external activities. But when we do yoga, your mind is engaged in the muscle movement only. It has no engagement outside. This is the only difference. That is what is technically called Vyayama in Sanskrit. Vyayama, literal word meaning is exercise. But if you go to the root, Vayu Ayama is called Vyayama.
Yes.
Vayu means prana vayu. The air we breathe in is only oxygen. Is vayu, air. But how vayu can be converted into prana vayu? That must be utilized, integrated by the human system, human intelligence, and converted itself into energy, prana. That prana is traveling all over the body, right from the toe to head. Prana is spreading. That spreading, ayama, is called the pranayama or vayu ayama. So technically, it is said vyayama is exercise, converting the body and mind energy into vitality is called vyayama. But exercise is strainful action. Applying certain strain on the muscles is called exercise. It is the difference between yoga and exercise. When you do yoga, mind will merge into muscle. The union between mind and body is called yoga. But when you do other exercise, your mind is merging into that set particular activity. That is the difference.
Right. So I'm going to just summarize what Guruji said. We started off with the most people in the world understand yoga as a form of exercise. They've not even looked deeper because yoga isn't that. It's actually a path of living, and we'll go into that. But the difference between yoga and exercise is between yoga and conventional exercise, which is getting out there, straining your body, developing your muscle. That it's an external source. Your mind is clearly focused on an external source, which is outside of your body, and it's trying to achieve a goal outside, right? There's a lot of strain, there's a lot of connection to the world outside. When you do yoga, the connection is inside. And it's a union of mind and body. It's a journey within, it's not a journey externally. That being said, it's beautiful what Guruji said. The word for exercise in Sanskrit is vyayama, which means it's taking the ordinary oxygen that we have into an essential life force, that instead of just breathing and going on a day in a very mechanical manner, when you exercise, you're able to convert that oxygen, that air that we breathe in, into essential vitality, essential life force, or pranavayu. Right,
Yes.
Guruji? So now, Guruji, I want to go into, when we did the last season and when Krishna and Arjun had the conversation, basically the conclusion that we had, or one of the conclusions that we had, is Krishna told Arjun that the solution to all of this upheaval that you're experiencing in your mind is yoga, that the path to enlightenment is yoga. So I want us that over this season, Guruji, over these 8 episodes that we do, to kind of go that where does one begin? What is the full understanding of the philosophy? And how do we go about the path? Of course, nobody, it's just the start of a path for us, but understanding the philosophy that comes behind it. So when we take yoga to its original roots, what was it and what was it designed for?
Yoga is designed for ultimate freedom. In Sanskrit, there are 2 ways to eliminate our life. In Sanskrit, it's called Atmahatya. Hatya means killing. Okay. So if you can commit suicide, you can liberate yourself from this worldly, physical entanglements. Correct, no? There is another way also, Atma Jnana. Both are obliterating the boundaries created by your consciousness. Now, why do you feel that I am limited to this universe? Because your mind is extending to a certain level, and it makes a certain fabric of consciousness. It's like a spider web. A spider is, stuck in its web. It has a limit. Certain area is producing a web, and it is restricted to move within that boundary. Same way, our spider of consciousness ego made a web, universal web, and we are trapped into that. That is why people are facing problems. There is no eternal freedom because they are bounded with the intellectual fabrics. If you want to go beyond intellect, yoga, chitta vritti, virodha. Eliminate, arrest the functions of your senses. That means the intellectual web is vanished. Or you kill yourself and you are freed from the material bondages. So killing ourselves is not a solution. Then knowing ourselves is the right solution. That is why yoga is developed. Yoga is the technique which will change the existing situation. Just for example, you take hydrogen and oxygen. I think I might have explained to you earlier.
Yes, you did, Guruji.
These two gases are having a peculiarity. Hydrogen is combustible, oxygen is complementing fire. So in essence, the nature of these two gases is fire, heat. But when we make a union between these two, hydrogen and oxygen will make a union, and both will lose their identity, and water will be born. Due to the union, water is born. Water has a peculiarity to put off fire. Correct, no? Same way, our body and mind are like hydrogen and oxygen. Body is really the slave of mind. Mind is always engaged with the desires, raga. Raga means desire in Sanskrit. So millions of desires are there, unending. I need this, I want this, I have to do this, I should capture this, I should grow like this. So always needs, called ragi. He is really tired of having the desires. And what body does? Body is complementing that. Okay, mind wants this, body will execute it. Oh, do this, do that. So body is running after this. So this body and mind, like hydrogen and oxygen, they both are complementing the fire of desire, raga. If you make a deliberate union between mind and body through pranayama or kumbhaka, that is the key of meditation. When you do that, that mind and body will merge together, union will happen, then both will lose their identity. A third faculty will be evolved, which is called spiritual knowledge, Atma Bodha. When Atma Bodha arises, this raga, fire of desires, will be put off by the water of spirit. He will become a viragi. Viragi means vairagi. Viragi means the person who conquered desires. This is why yoga introduced to society.
Beautiful.
The moment we become spiritually aware, the intellectual fabric will vanish.
Amazing.
Then eternal freedom is revealed. We are exposed into that. That is what is called final emancipation or self-realization or moksha, mukti, whatever you label it. But that is the higher consciousness of, like knowledge or truth, which is beyond the intellectual bondages.
Lovely. Lovely, Guruji. So, Guruji explained that why is yoga such an essential part of where we are born for as human beings. As we are born as a human being, as a manushya, and we get entangled in the web, right? We get entangled in the web of desires, of world, and then we really find ourselves as a spider who's got entangled in his web. Um, and we just look around and we don't know how to get out of this. At that point, there are two parts, right? There's Atma Hatya, which means killing of self, or there's Atma Jnana, which means knowing of self. And true liberation is knowing of self. Yes, Atma Hatya, or just killing off the body, will allow the body to disappear for this moment. But Atma Jnana is ultimate freedom. Freedom in this body, and if there's any bodies, any reincarnations to follow, but it's complete freedom is Atma Jnana. But how do we do Atmagnana when we're constantly using our senses to explore and get excited by the world? When we're constantly in this whole mind body game where your mind seeks a desire and uses the body to fulfill the desire. That's what we're constantly doing. The mind is getting tempted, and then the body is following its call, and it's going out there and it's pursuing this web. So Guruji says that this whole process will start by stopping this whole cycle, the mind, body, explore, sensory indulgence. And for that, the path is Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Chitta Vritti Nirodha is actually disconnecting your senses and going within for a short while. When you disconnect your senses and you go within, and Kumbhak is a breathing practice that Guruji has introduced to us in the last year. But when we do the Kumbhak practice and we are able to really shut down the senses, there's a third energy that emerges within us. And that is the knowledge of the self. That is the Atma Jnana, or the knowledge of your own self, of your own spirit, of your own deeper than what everything else is. And the mind by itself and the body by itself, they're both capable, like hydrogen and oxygen, of creation, of fire, of engagement in the world. But when they both are kind of controlled and tamed, and they're both brought down, just how water flows, what then happens is this kind of flow, is this kind of union with the cosmos.
Yes.
Yes, Guruji. So Guruji, so when you talk about hydrogen and oxygen, and you talk about that, is this also connected to the Ida and the Pingla, the two nadis?
Yes, again, we don't want to complicate this because I have been really facing this question from many sources. And in the books, it is clearly written, Surya Chandrama Suraikyam Hatha Ityabdire. Solar and lunar nadis must be brought into a union. It's correct. But I can tell you, with regard to the experience, it has nothing to do with the explanation in the book. And if you are not experiencing it, this bookish knowledge will really put you into utter slavery. People visualize something. They think there are two wires, interchanging like this and reaching somewhere. Come on, nothing is there like that. But it's only a limited symbol. So instead of doing that, instead of thinking Ida, Pingala, solar, lunar, many things, just be as simple as possible. Observe, there is a visible function in our lungs. It is expanding and contracting. This is again said in the traditional text. Hakar Hriyadi Sakarena Vishetpuna. Hamsa Hamsedi Mandroyam Savair Jivaisha Japyade. Japa is reciting. Every being who is having a respiratory system reciting a mantra, Hamsa, unknowingly. As you inhale, Hakarena Bahriyadi, the body is expanding. Sakarena Vishetpura, when you breathe out, body is contracting. So inhalation is with the hum, exhalation with the sa. So Hamsa, this Hamsa is mandroyam. That is a subtle sound which can be pursued. This is what is said. If you can pursue these actions, inhalation and exhalation, then gradually you will be able to arrest that. So inhale, then you will get a capacity to hold it. That is what is called retention. Either you can retain your breath in hum or in sa. So you can inhale and hold, that is called anda kumbhaka. Or you can exhale, empty your lungs and hold, that is bahya kumbhaka. You practice that. If you keep doing this simple retention, samanya kumbhaka, then gradually kevala kumbhakam will take place. Means irrespective of inhalation and exhalation, there will be a comfortable zone where you can maintain your mind. The mind and prana will merge there. Pranam manodemidam vilayennayedyo moksham sagachadi. The moment you experience that particular dimension, particular plane, where mind and prana merge, you are liberated. Then what is the use of all these thousands and thousands of books and confusions? This is as simple as our breathing. Anybody who is looking forward to get the benefit of yoga must be prepared to make the practice as simple as possible.
Lovely, Guruji. So Guruji said that, we think, Guruji, and I think I've actually learned this from you over the last couple of years, that the world designed today constantly teaches us that if it's not complicated, the answer is wrong. That anything that has to be achieved is complicated. Anything that needs to be done has to be against the flow of the nature. The example you gave us of being on a ship and being in the opposite direction. I don't know if you remember that example, Guruji, but you gave us the example of how we fight with the normal course of nature and we go against it, and how difficult that resistance is. And unfortunately, our system is designed us that unless there is resistance, unless there is a fight, unless it's very difficult, it's not done, it's not going to take you where you want to go. But what Guruji is saying is completely the opposite, is that it's a very simple journey. It starts with as simple as inhaling and exhaling and being in touch with that breath. The sound of hamsa. That inhale naturally comes with the sound of hum, and the exhalation naturally comes with the sound of sa. And to get familiar with that, and as we inhale, to be able to then gradually hold and to come to a point of kevala kumbhak, which will happen very naturally, where every inhalation will connect you deeper to that reality, that eternal connection with the cosmos, because you will start becoming in that state. So it's as simple. It's not about, going to the jungle, reading 100 texts. It's about being with your breath. At least this is where the journey starts.
Yes.
Yeah. But Guruji, I have to tell you that over the last 2 years of talking to you, this has become extremely clear in my mind that if it's going against, there is a natural order of the universe, and surrendering to that natural order, flowing with that natural order, it's just makes life like that lahari so enjoyable, such a flow, versus constantly looking for resistance and functioning and going against it and fighting and all of that. And it's been really, really life-changing for me, and it's become so easy. I feel like when people talk about life being difficult, it's just like, as long as we keep surrendering to that order, it's such an easy task. So thank you, Guruji. It's really been life-changing for me completely.
You're welcome.
Really, really been life-changing. But Guruji, what I want to talk about, right, is, so you said that when somebody wants to start on the path of yoga, he starts with his breath, which you don't need any accessory for. You don't need any mat, you don't need any studio, you just need your breath, which is with you all the time. But Guruji, I want to talk about the eightfold part of yoga, the yamaniyam. And why is the yamaniyam important before we go into the asana pranayam? Also, Guruji, when you talk about the breath, does it come under the pranayam? And where does asana fall? These are a few questions that I want to take eventually, Guruji. But I want to first start with the eightfold path of yoga. And while we may not go over all the eight orders, eight steps today, but I think it's very important for us to explore what they are and what they mean.
Right. This Ashtanga Yoga, eightfold path of yoga, is not, written without a reason. Of course, our masters are having specific intention, clarity on what they do. But the problem is with us. We misunderstand it,
Yes.
misuse it, misinterpret it. That is the issue. It is a reference for confirmation. So if I want to do yoga, I cannot stand and do meditation. I may fall. I cannot lie down and meditate. Naturally, I will get a tendency to sit on floor with a crossed leg and keeping my spine erect. Why? So I am confused. Hey, why am I feeling that I have to sit with a crossed leg, and why can't I lie down and meditate? There I can take the book, what our forefathers did. Our ancestors, how they explored this. It is clearly stated that there is asana, stiram, sukham, asana. Then you need further explanation? Go for different text. Different asanas are explained. Which one is comfortable for you, you select. Fine. That is only for confirmation, not for deep explanation and distortion and complication. No, it's only a simple clarification as a child is getting the solution from the mother. When a child is approaching the mother for getting an answer for a question, he is not having any kind of premonition. He is not having any kind of ego. With unconditional love, he approaches the mother, hug and say that, Ma, what is this? So that naive approach will stimulate the mother, and the answer will start flowing from the mother. Child will comfortably take that. Same way, these books are written out of unconditional love. No premonition or any kind of strict instruction or like commandments. Nothing is there. It's only an explanation of their experiences. So the moment you understand that, yeah, an asana is necessary, so you are confirmed with that. Fine. Then you say, okay, since I do this, how can I advance in a safe way? Then you are in need of some guidance of your discipline. That is what is called yama niyama. Yama means if I have a habit of eating a lot of things without any control. The text is saying that alpaharam or mitahar. You have to eat this certain amount, exactly what you are in need of that. Excess eating or less eating will disturb the practice. Fine. So doubt is clarified. Or if I have a habit of smoking, it is a negative, unhealthy, practice. I should not maintain it. So Master is saying that kill mercilessly your unwanted behavior or action or habits. Yama, literal meaning is unconditional killing. Mercilessly, you have to avoid your negative habits. Niyama is a discipline or any kind of practice. If you want to make a good body, you should go to gymnasium. And there are certain rules how to eat and how to practice. Then only within that specific frame of time, you can build your body. If you want to complete a special course, of course, you have to go through a disciplined way. Same, this discipline is explained. Niyama and asana. The rest is really happening. When you sit comfortably, your prana will start getting, stuck in the body certain area. That's called pranastambana. Pranastambana is some kind of disease. So you create a disease for what? To convert that disease into a serious disease. That serious disease one day will make you, kill you, disabled. Completely that body machine will be stopped. One day that disease will kill you. But that killing is Atma Jnana, not Atmahatya. Because it's not happening spontaneously. All of a sudden you are not killing. Through years of practice, you arrest the supply of oxygen in the body. You know, as far as medical science is concerned, if oxygen is not supplied more than 2.5 minutes, your brain will stop functioning. If oxygen is blocked more than 3 minutes, heart is stopped. But through systematic practice, sitting in a comfortable asana, you keep practicing pranastambanam. First you ayama, means extend the prana, then kumbhaga, arrest the prana for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 120 seconds, like that. Extend, 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 extend. Then one day you will reach more than 3 minutes through practice. So as per the natural law of nature, if oxygen is not supplied more than 3 minutes, you are dead. But here, oxygen is blocked more than 3 minutes. But how can you die? If you are holding the control, nature is no more there. So that is why you become the eternal winner. There we experience death. The moment you understand the secret of death, you conquered death. Shranandu Vishwe, Amradatsya Putra. Hey, children, this is what you have to do, through which you can conquer death. This is what is clearly stated in Upanishads. So what I am saying is, this should be practiced and experienced. As you get different experiences, you can get conviction through the reference of the books. That's all.
Okay, Guruji, I'm going to stop you here before we continue, because I think this was a very, very important explanation. Am I the only one who's lost Guruji's? I think we lost you for a... Okay, now we're back. So Guruji, I'm going to actually, I'm going to just summarize what you said, because it was a very important explanation. I'm actually going to just, for now, do this to the comments. Okay. So, when the goal of this conversation is that how do you approach this? There's so much confusing information out there. And when somebody wants to take this path of knowing what exists beyond the physical world, there's unlimited. You go to a bookstore and you're completely confused. You go online, you're completely confused. So Guruji said to us in the beginning that you start by just expansion of your breath. And let it guide you, let it take you where it needs to take you. Now comes the question of the eightfold path of yoga. For anybody who knows, and even for people who don't know, when the path of yoga to enlightenment is enumerated, it consists of 8 paths, right? Which there are 8 steps that are to be followed. It starts with something called yama, which is things that you stay away from. Then niyama, which is discipline that you inculcate. What is the discipline that you should inculcate? Then there is asana, and then there is pranayama. But what Guruji is saying is that this is not an academic path you follow. It's not academic at all. What he's saying is that these texts were written not so that you open it and you follow a path, but it was written that when you go on this path and you start that curiosity, you'll realize, for example, yes, Guruji is absolutely right. When I sit with my back straight and meditate on the floor with cross-legged, it's a different experience. The energy feels completely different in the body. And what he said is, as we explore this path on our own, questions will come up. And we will start wondering, am I doing what I'm doing? Is this correct? Is this wrong? That's the time that the book is a great reference point to open up and see, hey, look, this is what is enumerated in the book. So the practice comes first and the book comes later. Most of us think that the book as an academic tool comes first and the practice comes later. And that's the reverse order. But that being said, right, as we go on this path, we need to kind of create some discipline. Just as when we go to school, when we start going to school, there's a discipline that's created. There's a certain time the child wakes up, there's a certain way you dress. anytime you take on something, there's a discipline that's required, and the yama and the niyama offer that discipline that will help us to go on the path and succeed in this path. Then comes asana, right? Because a lot of this practice uses the body as a tool to go within. So the asana allows for that. The asana allows that sthiram sukham asanam, that what is going to create that flow of prana, what is going to create that energy in your body, what movements, what asanas are going to create. So asana is a third part. And then Guruji said prana ayama. Prana is that essential life force which is carried with your breath. When you learn to expand your breath, ayama is expansion of breath. So then it's the expansion of breath which will naturally lead into something called kumbhaka. As the breath is expanded and the ability to hold the breath, the kumbhaka becomes the retention of the breath, becomes a possibility. And the retention is a longer retention. There comes a moment where the mind and the body just dissolve. And it's the same, it's comparable, he said, like to death, but it's a different reality. It's the reality of that Atma Jnana, of just dissolution of this entity. And that is the experience that is to be had through pranayama. Of course, there are 4 more steps after that, which I'm curious to hear what Guruji has to say. But yes, sorry Guruji, I thought it was important because a lot of the listeners may not know exactly what we're talking about in terms of the Eightfold Path. So I wanted to just summarize it before we could move on.
But again, we are doing the same mistake what our society has been doing. Yoga is pure experience. Just now you were explaining the union between mind and body. How we can visualize it? Impossible. When it happens, we will have certain questions. That questions can be answered by reading the books of our masters. So pratyahara, you said asana is posture, comfortable posture. Then pranayama is extension of breath. And there are many pranayamas. Again, complication you can see. And like Bastrika Brahmarishi, like Kapal Bhadi. So the many are there. Then people are practicing day and night. What I should do? I have nothing to comment about these things. I may be able to say, what we can say, rebel. But again, once we reach that level, when the union takes place, mind cannot run here and there. It's an experience. It cannot be explained. That state is called pratyahara. It will be coming back to, withdrawn back to its source. But beyond that, we cannot explain. That pratyahara will lead to a different state of experience, different dimension. When the mind is focused, like you see vapor, you label vapor, oh, it's moving here and there, it's, the cohesiveness is very low and it's very weak, so it's like a maybe. You have many explanations. But take the heat from that, then it will be converged. When heat is removed, it will be converted. Then you say, oh, water came. So vapor gone, water born. And water has certain, like a molecular bonding. That cohesiveness is different than the vapor. Then water is liquid, remove heat from that. Again, the water molecules are converged. Yes. And you will get a solid piece of ice. There, the energy, the vapor energy which was spread to a certain area, converged to one small area. That is what is called a dharana. Dharana means it's fixed somewhere. It cannot move anywhere. So that is called dharana. Once the molecules reach to that state of ice, there will be certain vibrations. Because any compression will get a tendency for an explosion. In yoga, it's called Parashakti and Durga. Parashakti is everywhere. But once it is converged, taken a limited form, it will start action. So we are all, in essence, Parashakti, but in effect, Durgas. So there is a Durga Ma. So once that molecular form is achieved, so from there, is it okay now? The connection?
Yes, yes, it's okay now. It's okay now, Guruji.
Yeah. So if vapor is considered as unlimited energy, shapeless energy, ice is matter. So that energy is converted into matter. That matter will give you some kind of meanings, which we call life. So life has no static existence. Whatever we give as meaning of life is fluctuating, it's changing. That is why again mantra says Om Bhurbhava Swaha Tat Savidurvarenyam. Everything is a flux. So when we understand this, we are experiencing the real state of existence, which we call dhyana, the seventh level. So mind is withdrawn to a point, then fixed over there. The withdrawal of that mind is called pratyahara. The withdrawn mind is kept as a solid piece, that is dharana. Dharana means, like a fixing up. Then that fixing up process, that started making some kind of vibrations, which can be experienced. The difference between shapelessness and shape. Rupa and Arupa. Arupa means infinity. Rupa is finite. So when we understand that, that is what is called the process of dhyana, which is beyond explanation. When we understand, we can go beyond the shape and shapelessness, finite to infinity. So we can travel here and there, or we will become that change itself we call samadhi, the ultimate establishment or realization. So yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Merciless killing of bad habits, yama. Self-discipline, niyama. Then asana, comfortable posture for meditate, pranayama. There is pranayama, extension of breath and retention of breath, which will lead to withdrawal of mind, pratyahara. Then the withdrawn mind is fixed somewhere as dharana. Then that fixed mind will start vibrating, is called dhyana, meditation. Then meditation is converting itself into the ultimate reality, aham brahmasmi, is samadhi. These are the 8 steps of Ashtanga Yoga.
Anybody who's listening probably is understanding that Guruji does not want to over elaborate on these, because these are experiences to be felt. And Guruji, as I'm hearing you talk and I'm trying to go back to my own practice, I can understand that these are just experiences, and as we go on the practice, we experience certain things and we wonder what they are. But these conversations kind of help. That's all that these conversations are for, is to really be on your own path, have your own experiences. But then just as you would use a text for reference, we are using these conversations as a reference to understand the own practice that we do, right? And so what we spoke about till the point of pranayama, that how you use the breath and the kumbhaka. And as we do the expansion of the breath and we come to a point of kumbhaka, that chitta vritti nirodha happens, that disconnection of the senses from the outside world, really shutting down of the senses happens. And Guruji uses some really amazing examples, like, you had said earlier, Guruji, that a blind man can, sense different things when one sense is also shut, one sense organ is also shut. We all know Helen Keller. If you hear the story of Helen Keller, she was able to tell from 1 mile away, even though she was blind, she was able to tell from 1 mile away who was coming. We know that dogs can hear more than what humans can hear. People who have one sense organ not functioning the best have another 6th sense. So when we shut down these 5 senses within us, in that state of pranayama and pratyahara, shutting down the senses brings us somewhere within, and we ground ourselves, and that is dharana. That establishing yourself in this state is dharana. And as we establish ourselves in this state, the seventh step, that is dhyana, is experiencing this whole matter into wave and energy into matter. This constant changing manifestation, like Guruji said, right? We are actually something called Parashakti, which is just this dispersed, unlimited potential of energy. And because we make it so concentrated, and the more denser we make it, put our mind to a worldly task, we become Durga. Durga is the collection of all of this energy which makes it matter. And Guruji used the example of water and vapor and ice. Um, and then from that dhyana, right, from that existence of this matter energy play, and understanding that with that full concentration and establishment, you can come into a state of samadhi, which is that state of complete atmajnana.
Yes. So, as a conclusion, we can say just learn some technical terms from traditional yoga. All the masters who were experiencing this state of mind or liberation, all the tapas. What does it mean? Tapa in Sanskrit, heat. So, learn to play with the heat, body temperature. Everybody is having certain temperature. Okay, human species is having 37.3 degrees centigrade. Like if our body is a state of ice, it has a shape, it has certain kind of rigidity, cohesiveness, everything is there. The moment we change the temperature, tapa of ice, it will lose its identity, it will be transformed into water. Same way, if we change this 37.3 degrees centigrade to 40 degrees centigrade, what will happen? This body will lose its cohesiveness. It will be transforming into other state. Like ice is converting into water. Again, heat the water, boil the water. Water will lose its binding force, and it will be converting into vapor. Absolutely. Remove heat from vapor, it will be converting back to water. Remove heat from water, again you will get the ice. Same way, learn to play with the tapa within the body. Then we can feel different state of existence, different dimensions of our existence. That is what is called tapas. Through tapas, you can come out of the body, or you can go more deep into the body. Whatever is possible, whatever is necessary, you can acquire that potential. That is what is called the ultimate freedom. This is what is done by tapasas. The person who is playing with the tapa is called tapas. The guy who is doing that is called tapasan or tapasi. So in every one of us, there is a tapasa and a tapasi residing. Just explore that. Then these thousands and thousands of books will be giving you the experiential knowledge from it. So you can read the book of body and mind. The moment we read that, certain clarifications will be necessary, we can get from the books. So the first choice, to read the book of life.
Beautiful. Beautiful, Guruji. And that's what we want to talk more about in the next lecture, Guruji, is this tapasva, the tapas aspect of it. I think we can, I know from our past lectures, such great explanations were given, Guruji. We would love to talk about that. Such a great thought, right? To play, what brings, even as water becomes vapor and water becomes ice, it's the change in temperature. So that internal heat that allows us to experience this matter to energy, energy to matter, to really play with that and experience. And I can tell you from my own experience, especially after working with Guruji, even when I start my meditation practice and I do the kumbhaka and the body fires up and there's a different type of a natural disconnection from the senses, and you go into a little deeper state. So this is real. It's very easy to experience, and it's real, and we'll talk more about it. So really, if you're on this path, stay tuned. We won't be doing every week, but we will be doing every other week. Guruji, before we go, there's one question that I'd like to take. If with regular meditation one experiences continuous head heaviness or pain in the body, does it mean that there is prana stuck? How do we deal with pain creates distraction?
So, through which method this person is meditating? Is it with a mantra or with a certain pranayama, or that should be specified?
Okay, so Shikha, we'll take this question the next time. But I do know that from Guruji's conversations, and as even well from my personal experience, when you get so lost within, the body becomes a non-reality. The pain, everything just becomes non-existent. I don't know how you lose touch of it. But Shikha, why don't we take this question next time? Next time we will keep about 10 minutes to answer questions. Let's hear about tapa and let's take questions next time. Guruji, with mantra, she's responded saying that she meditates with a mantra.
Okay, from where she got that is Siddha mantra or Veda mantra?
So Shikha, why don't you write me a little paragraph? So Guruji, she'll write to me, so I'll take this question accordingly, and I will convey it to you next time, so we can take it and other people can benefit too. Can you hear me, Guruji?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. No, so Guruji, offline, once we are done with our session, she'll write the whole explanation to me and take it up next time so I can formulate the question properly in a complete manner and we can take it up.
Done.
All right. Everybody, Guruji, this was so needed. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we can start this again. Again, join us the Thursday after this, same time, same place. Thank you, Guruji. Pranam.
Thank you. Pranam to all. Thank you.